Hello, my lovely Libras. Heather here, and I am going to do your video for all about Libra. This is a series that I have been working on. However, I've gotten really busy and didn't get to the last 6 signs. So you're sign number 7. And so now today is your turn, and I'm sorry for the delay. And, I will be getting to the last of the signs as well as soon as possible. I am going to take off my glasses because it's annoying. The glare is obnoxious because I typed up all of my notes on the computer. Just writing them down individually was way too much for me. Okay, Libra. What I'm going to start off with is just tell you a little bit about yourself, your personality traits, and then I'm going to go more in depth with the characteristics of those personality traits. Then I'm going to talk about how to recognize a Libra, okay, by looks. And then I'm going to tell you about your health. And finally, last but not least, the presidents and dictators. Now, I did do 2 hours of research on presidents and dictators for every sign. However, I am going to have a more in-depth video on this later on down the line, once I finish all the way through Pisces, because I find it really interesting. So yeah, before we get started, please click the subscribe button and the little bell down below. That way you get notifications of upcoming videos. Give me a like and a comment, and that helps the algorithm and gets us out to more Libras. And share this with anyone you know that is also a Libra or has a Libra family member, which would be you, duh, so send it to your family, or who is in love with Libra. Everybody's in love with a Libra. Who doesn't love Libras? So, or send it to your crush so they know more about you. Anyway, and also before I get started, I want to let you know that I am a Libra moon. My moon is in Libra, so I have a lot of these qualities as well. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, so Libra, you were born between the 23rd of September and the 22nd of October. Your symbol is the scales of justice and balance. You are an air sign, you're cardinal, and your duality is masculine. Now here's the thing. Every single person has both masculine and feminine qualities. But each sign has a duality, like the yin and the yang type of deal, okay? And yours is masculine. Air and fire are masculine, earth and water are feminine. There you go. End of story. You are ruled by the planet Venus, just like Taurus. Your body parts that you rule over are the buttocks, the lower back, the kidneys, and skin, okay? Now, each sign is a part of the human existence, the human lifetime, starting from Aries, okay, which is infant, all the way through Pisces, which is death, consciousness of the soul, and afterlife. Libra is the late 20s. And each sign has their own kind of motto for their soul, their soul, okay? And yours is I balance. So that is your soul's purpose, to find balance in this life. Okay, so really quick, your personality traits, and then we're going to get more in depth with them. Your personality traits are you're polite, you're good-natured and pleasant, but you can be argumentative. You're very good mediators, Libras. You're also inconsistent or dichotomous, you're like a dichotomy. You can be indecisive. You're harmonious. You're intelligent. You're artistic and or art lovers. If you're not an artistic person, you're definitely a lover of art. And speaking of love, you're great lovers. Hey, find you a Libra, people. If you're not a Libra watching this. Oh, heck, if you're a Libra watching this, find you another Libra. Okay, so let's get more in depth to the characteristics. Like I organized, okay, so this is research that I've done, plus everything I already know about each sun sign based on research I've done since I've been doing this since I'm 14, like researching astrology. So, this is like a combo of everything I've recently researched plus everything I know. Okay, let's get started. I'm sorry for the lighting, but like I said, you know, professional video. So Libras. Libras are polite. They hate being rude and they hate rude people. Can't stand it. They really don't like it. And if they ever happen to be rude, it's typically an accident. I'll tell you that much. It's an accident. And then they feel really bad about it. They just don't like being rude. Okay? Because they're good-natured and they're pleasant. And that's kind of the reason. Here's the funny thing. Libras love people. Libras are people. Okay? They love people, but they hate large crowds. And the reason is because they are so good-natured and pleasant. And large crowds aren't really that pleasant a lot of the time. Do you know what I'm saying? So large crowds, they're like, eek. No. So I just got done saying that they're polite, they're good-natured, and they're pleasant, right? I just finished that. Libras are also argumentative. It's true. It's true. Don't argue with me, Libra. Don't you stand here and argue with me because you are argumentative. They're going to argue with me about being argumentative. No, but really, okay, so here's the deal. They balk at taking orders. They're not fond of that because orders are almost like impolite and they're very polite. So if somebody's like, do this, they're like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, right? And they hate generalities, like millennials or Gen Z kids are ruining the country. Like they hate that, like generalities in general, because they'll get they get logical and to them the generalities are very rude, and so they don't like that. So they will argue with you if you say like a general statement like that. They will give you a logical, careful dissertation. Like I'm not kidding. Like a PhD dissertation about how many like wonderful youngsters there are in the world. Their own kids could be dropouts, you know, delinquents, and it doesn't matter. They will go on and on about like how wonderful kids are. If you like generalize, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're like, millennials and Gen Z and this, that, and the third, they'll be like, oh, let me tell you about these great kids that invent this, that, and the third. Doesn't matter that their kids are a hot mess, okay? And not all Libran kids are a hot mess, so please don't be like, my kids are fine, because your kids probably are great, because actually Libras make really good parents. They make really loving, fun parents. So typically a Libra's kids will turn out perfect. But I'm just saying, like, don't generalize. It pisses them off, okay? Here's the thing about the argumentative part. The lighting is really obnoxious. I'm sorry. They don't really care what side of an argument that they take. Like, if it's a good argument, so long as it's the other side. It's kind of funny. And sometimes if they get bored, like, and you're agreeing with them, they'll just take the other side right in the middle of the argument just to keep it going and keep it interesting. It's kind of funny. But I want to be very clear on something. I want to be very, very clear. Librans remain fair and balanced. Oop, I'm getting an alert. Okay. So even though you're going to be like, what are they doing? They want to remain very fair and balanced. They're the scales. Okay? Ooh, here's the thing. If you mention the word like comparison to them, I'm not even joking, the average Libran will be like off and running. They can literally compare with you all night long. All night long. They're really like good at finding the sides of both, you know, the good and the bad of everything. They're like the inventors of the pros and cons list. I'm not kidding. Librans like invented the pros and cons list. I don't know who invented it, the actual pros and cons list, but it was probably a Libra. I'm not joking with you. It was a Libra. Okay, so, but they hate exaggeration, which I just did. The inventor, but I might not be wrong. I don't know who invented the pros and cons list. Look it up. Tell me in the comments below. It's fine. It's probably a Libra. But they hate exaggeration, like when you're like, oh, you know, and you just go on and on about exaggerate, and you exaggerate things. They're like, really? Okay. Anyways, like I was saying, they can deliberately turn right around and take the other side of the discussion, and that can start an argument. And honestly, they do it for the pure like relishment of it. And that doesn't, they're not mean. They're just doing it to like keep the discussion going. That's just who they are. It's just who they are. They balance. They try to find balance, and what you gonna do? But here's the funny thing. They're very good mediators. If you have to go into mediation, try to find you a Libra. I'm not joking. Because, okay, here's the deal. War itself, and I can get into this later, but war itself makes Libras heartsick, whether they tell you that or not. It just hurts them to the core. And it doesn't matter if it's actual war, like two countries, or if it's two of their friends fighting. They don't like it. Because they seek harmony. They're harmonious, and I'll get to that later. They like have this instinctual, like, they have this instinct within them to restore harmony. That's how Librans are. And so when others are fighting, they kind of like to play the role of peacemaker, and they try to soothe everyone's ruffled feathers. You know, they try to smooth things out and make everything harmonious. Isn't that nice? Like, I mean, who doesn't want somebody in their life that can kind of smooth out the wrinkles? You know what I'm saying? Everybody should have a Libra in their life. They really should. Another reason they make really good mediators is because they have this uncanny ability to see both sides, all the sides, not just two, but like all the sides. And they really have this ability to like smooth nerves, calm angry tempers. And so it really does, like, they're able to bring two people together that they're friends with that like hate each other and mistrust each other, and like somehow bring them back together to be friends again. It's really interesting. And so, okay, when it comes to actual war, like real war between countries, if a Libran is in the armed forces, it doesn't matter. They hate bloodshed. They hate it. They hate it, hate it, hate it. And they'll be like the type of soldier that will like almost brilliantly like chart like strategic like maneuvers that it will save like thousands of lives, right? But still let their side win. So I don't know how they do it, but like that's just kind of their thing. But they're also the type of soldier that under fire, like if it has to be an instant decision, they're not the instant decision maker type. And we'll get to that in the next column that I have of notes that we'll talk about. Okay, so Libra like dreads the appearance of prejudice or unjust accusations and also blind faith. They don't like any of that because they want to see all sides. So that's another reason that they're a good mediator. And they seek the real truth, okay? They want to know the truth. It's that exact balance that gives the correct answer is what they're seeking. And they want to weigh all possibilities. And fairness can almost be a fetish to them. They love fairness. They love it. So they have this balanced, harmonious judgment, and that makes them, like I said, the best type of mediators. And when their friends are fighting, they try to get them to not fight anymore. You know what I mean? Like they don't want that anymore. They like to make things right. Okay. Inconsistent and dichotomous. So here are the things that are the dichotomy of Libra. Even though they're not a dual sign, and I'll get into that later. They are extremely intelligent, but they're naive and gullible. They are talkative, very talkative, but they're also great listeners. They're restless, okay? But they're also rarely in a rush or a hurry. They're not always balanced, even though they're the scales. They go up and down like the scales. If you look at the scales of their symbol, or if you look at like an old pharmacy scale, how it goes up and down until it's balanced, that's a Libra. They're not always love and beauty and sweetness and light. They're not always calm and perfectly balanced and sweet and gracious and charming. Libras can also be annoying, quarrelsome, stubborn, restless, depressed, and confused. So it's like this dichotomy, right? They're positive, but they can be sulky. They can talk up a storm. They can monopolize the conversation. But they'll also listen intently with almost like a flattering interest in what you have to say. A dichotomy. They often end up, even though they don't necessarily want this, and they don't, but they often end up in push-pull relationships. Push-pull relationships. Some people call them the lazy Libra, right? But that's not necessarily the case because they can grind and they can work like a workhorse, okay? And they can go to sleep late, wake up early, get things done, da-da-da-da-da. It can wear you out just like watching them. And then all of a sudden, they'll be like, okay, I'm zonked out, I'm done. And they'll just simply lay around it and do nothing. And it's almost like the scales tip one way and then tip the other way, da-da-da-da-da. But once they've recuperated and they've had their rest, they're back at it again. Going, right? And remember how I said they're not a dual sign? There's only really, truly 3 dual signs. Hold on, I have alerts. Okay. There's only truly 3 dual signs. Gemini, the twins. Sagittarius, which is half man, half horse. That's their symbol. And then Pisces, which is the 2 fish going in opposite directions. So those are the 3 dual signs. Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So they're not a dual sign. But their friends will tell you that they're like 2 different people. They're like the busy and efficient Libra. Or they're the lazy Libra. Like, you know, it's interesting. Although they're not the dual sign or a dual sign, they are like that. And that's the scales tipping to try to find balance, okay? Like a Libra can weep with like this overflowing sentiment and romantic sentiment. And then they can turn sharply sarcastic like in the next instant. And then the next instant after that, they can be bright and cheerful. Like it's funny. But it's not like the duality of a Gemini. So you're thinking like, wait a minute, that's like Gemini, but it's not. See, here's the thing. Librans are constantly dipping deeply into one emotion and then the other because of their scales, right? But Gemini is a complete change of character, like the twins. They're like completely change their character. So it's Libras dip in and out, whereas Geminis are like da-da, da-da, da-da. So they're not a dual sign. And the Libra character is basically made out of equal parts, okay? This is if you're making a recipe for a Libra. God was up in heaven and was like, I'm going to mix me up a Libra. Gordon Ramsay style, right? Gordon Ramsay was like mixing up a Libra for God, right? He would put, I'm not even kidding, like equal parts kindness, gentleness, fairness, argumentativeness, stubbornness, refusal to capitulate, philosophical logic, indecision, and intuition. He would mix them all up, wrap them in a puff pastry, and then yell at God that it was raw. No, I'm just kidding. No, but he would make it like that is a Libra. Like they have all those qualities all in one. And they're emotional, yet they're balanced. And there's like this deep richness to a Libra's emotions. It doesn't matter which like emotion it is, whether it's a high or a low emotion. At any given moment, it doesn't matter. There's like this deep like richness to their emotions. Okay, here's a good thing. Very, very few Librans, and it really depends on their ascendant sign. Very, very few of them are eccentric or like show-offs. They're not like the Leos, like ta-da, you know, like a Leo. They're not like that. They're not show-offs. They're wholesome and they're well-balanced people. They are repelled by embarrassing displays of like anger and passion. But here's the thing. Here's the other part of the dichotomy. They're guilty of it. They are guilty of displays of anger and passion. When they're pressed beyond their endurance, they will be, you know, very emotional, even though they don't like it in other people. It's a dichotomy. What can I say? So let's get on to their indecisiveness. First of all, they'll tell you that they're not indecisive. Okay, so even the most controlled Libran, man, woman, or anything in between, they dislike making instant decisions. They don't like it. They like to take in all the possibilities and consider every single possibility that can happen. And listen, all that weighing of the different possibilities can drive even the most positive person simply mad, okay? It can drive the Libran themselves into a state of constant madness and indecision. Like, it's just like weighing all these possibilities can drive anybody crazy, but it actually ends up driving the Libra crazy the most. Like, okay, because like as frustrating as it can be for other people to like watch a Libra try to make a decision, okay, the funny thing is they end up being excellent strategists and they're thoughtful planners and they can win a battle before it's even fought. And you're like, how did a Libra do this? If there's a Libra, if you're a Libran or if you know a Libran, if you're like not a Libra but you're watching this, if they have like adverse afflictions in their planetary aspects at their birth, okay, in their birth chart, they can end up having quite a few problems caused by their aversion to make a decision. So really looking at the whole birth chart really helps out to know, but we're just doing the sun sign really quick. You know, I'm not getting that in depth into it, but they do have a tendency to weigh things back and forth before making a decision. And one of their favorite phrases would be like, on the other hand, or however. You know, that's like one of their favorite things. I say that a lot, and I'm a Libra moon. Okay. So here's another thing. If you are like dating a Libra or friends with a Libra, or, you know, if you have a Libra boss or a Libra employee or a Libra family member, keep this in mind. They don't want to be pushed or hurried to make a decision. Okay. Like if you're impatient, I'm calling you out, fire signs. I'm calling you out. If you're impatient, and also Geminis and Aquarius, the other air signs. If you're impatient and a Libra has to make a decision, you can actually, your impatience can turn them so stubborn. They're almost like a Taurus. You're like, why are you being so stubborn? They really can be stubborn, okay? Because they can't stand impatience. They also can't stand flighty, rash, or impulsive people who don't stop to like consider the consequences, because they're always considering the consequences of stuff. So if you don't bother to consider the consequences, they're like, the hell's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how they think. But I know you Libras that are watching this. You're like, I'm not indecisive. Heather, what are you talking about? I'm totally decisive. I am not indecisive. Because they avoid admitting their indecisiveness. And there's a good reason for this. There's a very good reason for this. They take a devilishly long time making up their mind. I mean, you're just like, what the fuck? You know, for them to make up their mind. But once they do, they are gung-ho about it, okay? They are like all in once they've made their decision. Once they've weighed all the options and they've really thought, okay, this is it. This is I want option A. I'm not taking option B or C or whatever. They are gung-ho for it. And so in Libra's mind, they're like, well, I'm not indecisive. I'm gung-ho about this decision that I just made. They don't realize that they took for fucking ever to make that decision. So that's why they won't really admit it. Sorry, Libra, it's true. And but let me tell you, if they are allowed the sufficient time that they need to make a decision, whatever decision they make is very, like, they very carefully made this decision. It is carried out with like such forceful like conviction that you're just like, whoa. Are you an Aries, which is their opposite sign though, by the way. And they're like, okay, so when it comes to like business dealings and stuff like that, they're very scrupulously honest. They're not dishonest wheelers and dealers like with business. There's like very there's very little carelessness about them, right? But they'd rather take their time to get it right than to have a false start and having to keep repeating the process. So that's kind of like why they think the way they do. So they're harmonious. When Libra scales are balanced, let me tell you, they are utterly delightful to be around. It's like being in paradise. They do tend to indulge in excessive eating, drinking, or lovemaking, and that can throw their harmoniousness completely out of kilter. So they need to like try not to do that. Okay. So like really Libras. But it's like instinctive in them. Like they're born knowing how to restore harmony to their body, their mind, to their friends, to everything. But they have to balance their excessive like active spells with like complete rest. Okay. They have to just completely withdraw and rest. So it's almost like in their DNA to find harmony, but a lot of times they they don't think of that. They can't do it for themselves. They can do it for other people, but they can't do it for themselves, which is like a problem for Libras. They need to find this balance within themselves, and that's their sole purpose. I balance, right? So they also love a harmony of sounds, colors, poetry, like the proper use of words. It doesn't matter if they're written or spoken. They love that, like harmonious things, music, that type of thing. And seasons, okay, if you think about harmoniousness with seasons, like winter is too cold for them. Summer is too freaking hot for them. They like that balance of fall or spring that is like a balance between cold and hot. Like it's like nice and temperate. They love that. They would love San Diego, except for the traffic would drive them crazy. If there was no traffic in San Diego, the temperatures would be perfect for them. It's true. Sorry, Libras that are San Diegans. Like it's, you probably hate the traffic and can't stand the crowds, but love the weather. So you're like, what do I do? Okay, so anyways, they're very intelligent, as are all air signs. They're extremely intelligent, sorry. They have like this fantastic ability to concentrate and to ponder deep subjects. They're great studiers. They're very studious. They're born with an affection, like they love books, okay? They're born with this affection for books. And they have a lot of respect for the printed word. You'll probably almost always find like a big library of books in a Libra's home. Their minds are both brilliant and smooth, and they have a sharp sense of humor. They're artistic and art lovers. They rarely do Libras escape the influence of the arts. It's very rare that they can escape that. They are either an artistic soul at heart, and they are artists themselves, or they love to go to art museums and see art, or go to their friends' houses and view the beautiful art. They enjoy that. They love the soft blue and pastel shades that Venus, their sign, rules over. Like they have cultural appreciation for the art in different cultures as well. It doesn't have to be their own culture. No matter what country they're from, they appreciate the art in other cultures. They just love it. And last but not least, they are great lovers and they're romantic. So like soft light, mellow, melodious music, interesting conversation, good food, fine wines, that all turns them on. They love it. Okay? And when it comes to making love, they can be gentle, tender lovers. Their goal is like to make the other person very pleased and happy. Okay? So, how to recognize a Libra by looks. Now, this is hard because there's not really one certain look to a Libra. The scales, right? There is something that they do typically have. It's the Venus dimples. It'll be in their cheeks, their chin, or their knees. Their knees can be dimpled. So check them out. Libras usually have dimples somewhere because that's the Venus dimple. Their features are almost always even and well balanced, and their looks are very pleasing. They always wear a markedly pleasant expression. Even when they're angry, they will somehow manage to look mild, or maybe at the very least like neutral, right? But they have a pleasant expression on their face. Their voices are typically sweet and clear as a bell, and Librans very seldom raise them to like a shrill bellowing pitch. They don't, no. Their opposite sign Aries will do that, but they won't do that. Their mouths are usually bow-shaped. You know, they have pretty lips. Lips like cherry wine, you could say. Both the men and women and everybody in between, any gender, any of the spectrum of gender, they're like handsome or beautiful. They're like really good looking, right? They have this purity of their features. very rare. Okay, you probably will never in your life. That's how rare it is. Find a Libran that somebody will be able to say they're ugly. You're just not going to find an ugly Libra, okay? And let's say you do. Let's say you're the one person that found the one not good looking Libra. They still have this like charming expression and real beauty of character in their face and in their heart that still makes them attractive. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Their smiles are soft and beautiful. Their smiles could like melt chocolate. A Libra is a smile. Like, let me tell you, gorgeous. The women, female Libras or born female at birth Libras, they seem to have, they don't have angles. They have like curves, like Venus, you know, like the beautiful curves that you just want to touch. Even if they're thin, like, even if they're like what you would call skinny, like they somehow have this hourglass figure. It'll be like the slim hourglass figure, but they'll still have these beautiful curves. Okay, so they are, the women and those who identify as women are the most feminine women, almost more feminine than any man can handle. And the men are like this virile, strong, like animal. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way Libras are. They have a note, and when it comes to their laugh, we'll move on. When it comes to their laugh, they have a noticeably like lilting laugh. It like rings with merriment. They're like just, it's almost like bells, you know. They're beautiful. The colors they look good in are mint green, vivid golden colors of autumn, and also violet. So it's like, think spring and think autumn. Those colors look really good on them. Now for their health. Okay, so Libra health. And I gotta hurry this up because this video is very long. They love to eat sweets. Love them. The biggest threat to their health is overindulgence of some kind. For example, eating sweets can cause obesity, stomach disorders, and acne. Excessive use of alcohol can cause severe kidney and bladder disturbances. Or they can result in violent headaches or migraine, and with like migraine intensity, okay? So be very careful to be temperate and balanced in the amount of sweets you eat, the amount of alcohol you drink. Don't do drugs, those type of things. Okay, because Librans tend to overindulge. They just do. Their instinct for sanity keeps most Librans mentally healthy and physically fit. However, they can get into depressions, big time depressions. They usually avoid serious breakdowns of body and mind, but they can give into depression. And it can cause itchy sensations on the skin. It can cause boils and acne. It can cause problems with their gastrointestinal area, their stomachs. Breasts are a sensitive area of the body. Sometimes they can have foot problems. Like I said, intestinal disorders. Those issues aren't as common, the intestinal disorders, but the foot and the breast sensitivity. They can get ulcers though, and it's usually caused from abuse of their digestive system or topsy-turvy emotions, that type of thing. But generally they're healthier than most people, unless they push themselves too hard and forget to take those necessary rest periods. That's when they can get ill. Because the effect of peace and harmony in a Libra's health is like miraculous to them. Peace and harmony and balance really makes them healthy and going with it. Because when they're ill, they need like prolonged periods of rest with no discord. They don't need any emotional situations to plague them. They need pleasant books. They need soft music. They need soothing words. That type of atmosphere rarely fails to put like a Libran back on their feet very quickly. So if they have all this discord around them and they're ill, it just makes it worse. It makes it worse for them. And so like when their scales dip down, their like bright optimism can turn into like a silent panic that's weighted down with like lonely depression. But when they balance, they can produce a perfect harmony between their rich, crackling intellect and their affectionate, sympathetic heart. Librans really are wonderful people. They really are. All right, so we're going to finish up with presidents and dictators. Now remember, this is not my dictator. I'm going to do all the zodiac signs of dictators and different political leaders and stuff like that, because I love history. So this is not extensive, but I did do like 2 hours of research for all of the signs. So it includes all the signs in that research. But okay, for you guys, there are 4 presidents of the United States that are Librans. Rutherford B. Hayes, Chester A. Arthur, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Jimmy Carter. And there are 6 dictators that were born under the sun sign Libra. Arthur da Costa e Silva from Brazil, Richard III of England. I need to do a video on him, let me tell you. Sani Abacha, sorry if I butcher his name, but Sani Abacha from Nigeria. Now this one I'm going to get wrong. I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but Mobutu Sese Seko from the Congo. Enver Hoxha from Albania. I'm butchering these people's names. And last but not least, Vladimir Putin of Russia. Sorry, Vladimir, don't have me disappeared. You were totally fairly elected every single time. Okay, anyway, that's all for now. I love you, Libras. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying and watching this whole video. Please click the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notifications. Hit the like, give me a comment, and share this with anybody else that you think would be interested in learning about Libras. Bye, y'all.